Let's talk about Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the party leader, Wiper Democratic Movement Party, a presidential aspirant in this election. What else? He's very many things. If you just do a casual Google search on the name Kalonzo, okay, the news articles that have been written about Kalonzo. In March, Kalonzo makes U-turn, says he's aware of signed Azimio deal at KICC. In May, Kalonzo ditches Azimio, picks running mate for revived state run. Crisis in Azimio as Kalonzo's presidential bid nears approval. Kalonzo, I know what I signed in Azimio deal. Kalonzo sets irreducible minimums to reconsider Azimio exit. How Uhuru Raila fixed Kalonzo in Azimio La Umoja agreement. How Wiper aspirants voted to have Kalonzo back in Azimio. Will Musyoka return to Raila or take up Ruto's offer? Crisis in Azimio as Kalonzo's presidential bid nears. Hey, so many things. All of them revolving around the last couple of years. Kalonzo Musyoka is among the principals who are leading the One Kenya Alliance. Then Kalonzo Musyoka is among the principals who are leading the leaders of the One Kenya Alliance into meeting with the leaders of the Azimio La Umoja coalition. Party. Then they formed the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. Then Kalonzo is among the members of the summit of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. Then the One Kenya Coalition Party summit and meets and decides what we want to do is we are going to have a nice democratic selection of Raila Odinga's running mate. Kalonzo Musyoka says, come on, you're subjecting me to... No, I'm not going for interviews. He goes for interviews. He comes out of the interview. He says, it was a nice conversation. It wasn't an interview. It was just a conversation. Then he says, I am going it alone. Before that, his party stalwarts are going to court to demand the release of the contract that Kalonzo Musyoka's party had signed. Very many things. Today, Kalonzo Musyoka, as far as we remember, the last thing that he told us is he's running for president. And he has already identified his running mate. And we already know who the running mate is. And from the reports that we know from the IEBC, they've already presented their documents and the papers. Now, Kalonzo Musyoka's advisor, one of the advisors, is in the room with us. Kevin Katisya is Senior Counsel Kalonzo Musyoka's legal advisor. Kevin, you have a tough job. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, Indu and Munga, for honoring me with this invitation. And I believe we shall have a good discourse on this particular
Welcome
topic.
to the hot seat.
Thank you.
You are the... what? Are you one of or are you the legal advisor?
One of.
One of the legal advisors to Kalonzo.
Yes.
So you consider yourself to be among those who are in the kitchen cabinet, who are in the engine room of Kalonzo's thinking.
Not really.
No?
But yes.
Not really, but yes.
All right.
So
So if we ask
not
them all,
no, but yes.
it is not a no.
But it's a
But
yes.
it's a yes.
so if we were to ask a more pointed question,
Yes.
were you the one or among the ones who were maybe or maybe not advising him about do not go for this interview, go for the interview, it doesn't make sense? Or was this on his own accord? Just as a leader question to something else, of course.
Into such a decision is not a legal decision. It's a political decision.
Sure.
And he has several political advisors. So I can't answer
So you were
on
not
their
in that.
behalf. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now,
But
there was
the
also
question.
the question.
Yes.
Eh,
That is the preamble.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Wiper Democratic Party, led by Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, entered into an agreement with Azimio.
Yes.
It is one of the parties that says they were not really sure what the legal document binding them to this coalition party actually said. Is this the case now that you're on the legal?
No, that is not the case.
Okay.
And I think many people, many Kenyans, including the media, got him wrong when he said that very many Secretary Generals of the constituent parties to Azimio who signed that document were not aware of what they were saying. He did not say that he was not aware.
Okay.
So I think for political reasons, people decided to take him out of context.
So he was aware
Fully aware.
of what he was signing.
Yes.
So why go to court seeking the release of this document?
He has not gone to court. Have you seen a case filed by Honorable Kalonzo Wiper?
Not yet.
Yes,
but there
so
was
he has not gone to court.
on that day,
Yes.
and I assume as one of his legal advisors, that's what had happened. The Sunday before the Monday,
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka's close advisors, including the Makueni MP, is it
Yes.
Makueni? Dan Manzo,
Yes.
come out in public and say, we are going to court tomorrow morning, demanding the release of this contract.
Yes.
And it's the same now Monday morning. It's the same Monday morning that Kalonzo addresses the country and says, I'm going it alone for the presidential ticket.
Yes.
So why were the lawyers saying they want to go to court?
You see, for you to address an issue, there are so many avenues you can use. And of course, one of the avenues is the court. But remember, Eric, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is a senior counsel. And when you are going to court, you look at the reliefs which you want to seek from the court. And going to court would mean maybe there is something which he wants to do, but he can't do. And from the context of that particular situation, when he was announcing his running mate on the 16th of May, the idea was for him to run alone for the presidency. So, of course, it is for the legal team's duty to look at the options, whether there can be any obstacles into him going alone for the presidency after signing the Azimio One Kenya coalition agreement. And we were of the opinion that there is nothing in law, known to law in Kenya, which can prevent him from running for presidency, even after his party Wiper becoming a member of Azimio One Kenya.
To the best of your understanding, Kevin,
Yes.
is this deal that Kalonzo's party signed when joining Azimio similar to the deal that Jubilee signed, that Maendeleo Chap signed, that PA signed? Are there different agreements, or is it the same agreement? We are all joining this one coalition, so we are all signing the same kind of agreement.
I think the agreement, Eric, was signed by all the parties at KACC. So it is the same agreement.
Have you had a view of this agreement
Yes.
as Kalonzo's legal advisor?
Yes.
Is there an exit clause in this agreement?
There is an exit clause
What does it say?
which says that for any party to exit the coalition agreement, it can't do so, number one, 6 months to the general election. And if it is after the general election, 3 months after, and there must be a 90 days notice of exit.
Okay.
Yes.
So when Kalonzo Musyoka then goes and runs
Yes.
as presidential candidate under Wiper,
Yes.
what does that mean with regards to this agreement that says any party wishing to exit cannot exit 60 days to an election, and there has to be 90 days prior?
But
in
there's
terms of notice?
something, Eric, many people, many Kenyans are not understanding. You see, the coalition party is formed under the Political Parties Act, Section 10 to be specific, and the third schedule of the Political Parties Act, which provides that any parties which want to form a coalition party, they can do so by signing a coalition agreement, which is the one which was signed by Wiper and the other parties at KACC. But there is no provision in the agreement or in any other law indicating that once a party participates or forms a coalition party, it cannot produce a presidential candidate. Ask yourself, Eric, why all these constituent parties are producing candidates for other positions? There is no clause saying you can't produce a presidential candidate. Have you seen such a clause?
Clever. So the same way Jubilee has gubernatorial candidates,
Yes.
ODM has senatorial candidates and gubernatorial candidates,
And the Wiper.
and Wiper has candidates for MCA,
Yes.
MP, senator, woman rep.
Yes.
Nothing stops Wiper from having a candidate for president.
Exactly. Nothing stops. And that's why, Eric, Kalonzo is a senior counsel. And he has good advisors around him.
Such as yourself.
Thank you. I believe so.
Okay.
City, do you get that?
Well, I get it all right. We're listening to legalese here. Because what he's saying is logical. It makes perfect sense. The debate around the country has been based on what we understand the agreements to be. And we are likening it to our own experiences about such unions. We even liken it to unions such as marriage. That when you're married to one husband, you can now seek another husband.
Yeah.
Or you are married to one wife. It's our understanding of such agreements. Yet, the legal provisions seem to point in the direction that our friend here is telling us. Because this is where now our understanding of the law and what the law actually stipulates now come into, should we say, a little collision? And now clarity seeking then has to be brought to bear, because when you understand bits and pieces of the law, especially when you're a layman, okay, it can be to your detriment, because from what we've seen, people who have wanted to be presidential candidates have divorced themselves from their previous political parties to run as independents. But what we forget is one senior counsel, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, is not running as an independent. No, he's not.
He's running at the
So
Wiper.
everything we've seen is for independent candidates. He is running under the Wiper ticket. Yes, now.
Within the coalition party.
Yes. It's a polygamous situation. So, yes, it is.
Exactly.
Do you want to tell me,
Yes.
Kevin, that this Azimio One Kenya agreement
Yes.
did not have any clause about having a single presidential candidate?
None whatsoever.
So Raila could have been a presidential candidate.
Yes.
Uhuru could have produced a presidential candidate for Jubilee.
Yes.
Wiper could have had.
Yes.
And all of you together as a coalition
Yes.
can have 7 presidential candidates.
Exactly.
So, but then it begs the question.
What the logic?
Yes, then why have a coalition?
Why in the first place? If everybody can be a presidential candidate, wasn't the point of the coalition in the first place to bring together those who then were of like mind and political leaning and say, this is our target, this is our goal? Because if everybody now wants to decide that they want to be presidential candidates, then you might as well stay on your own. Yes?
You are right. But you see, these are the loopholes in law which any person can take advantage of in such a situation, like the situation where Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is in now. Because one of the reasons, and I agree with Mr. Munga, of forming coalitions, not coalition parties, coalitions, is to ensure that these several parties can come together and drive one common agenda.
Yeah.
Now, the idea of a coalition party came up so as to give this coalition a legal standing, whereby any coalition party now, if there is an agreement which was signed, can seek legal redress. If, for example, you saw NASA coalition, how it is broke up, because the constituent parties to the NASA coalition were saying, we agreed on this, but these other parties not doing what we agreed. But they could not go anywhere. They could not go to court. But you see now this idea of a coalition party, and you see under the Political Parties Act, that coalition agreement is deposited with the registrar of political parties. So if there's something you agreed there, and the other person is not doing what they're supposed to do, you can seek legal redress, Eric, and go to court.
Counsel, as a layperson, again,
Yes.
I was about to give you some seniority here.
Thank you.
What it occurs to me is we are now dealing with this very delightful phrase we often come across, the letter and the spirit of the law. Okay? Letter of the law is there. The spirit was, look, we understand. There's going to be one president, but it was not in the letter. So because it's not in the letter, our friends here have decided,
The spirit
We
will
want to
take
push
precedence.
this.
we understand, yes, but can we go back to the letter? And the letter clearly gives them the leeway. But the spirit was different.
What were you signing? What did you advise Kalonzo to sign? Did you advise Kalonzo to sign in spirit and letter? Or did you tell him just go and put your signature there?
I would say in both.
Both
Because
spirit
you
and
know,
letter.
when Azimio, La Umoja One Kenya was formed, and remember initially it was Azimio,
Yep.
then they brought on board OCA,
Yep.
and the OCA, all the OCA principles. Now, and they even changed the name, Azimio, La Umoja One Kenya. So the idea was for these two coalitions, or member parties of those coalitions, could come together and agree on who will be the flag bearer, who will be the deputy, the running mate, who will take this position and this position. That was the idea. So they negotiated. So anybody could have been nominated as a presidential candidate, even Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but now the coalition agreed.
It's going to be Raila.
It is going to be Raila.
Okay.
Then now the other question was who is going to be the running mate of Raila.
Yes.
Then of course you know the entire story of how the running mate was chosen.
Yes, and this is how we know it. We know that when the coalition was formed, a structure for the coalition was created.
Yes.
It created the council. It is the top decision-making organ of this coalition party. Council chaired by Uhuru as chairman. It has Raila as the candidate. It has Kalonzo Musyoka as principal, Gideon Moi as principal, Charity Ngilu as principal, Martha Karua as principal, Sabina Chege is in there. And these ones met at KICC one day. And they came out and addressed the country at the steps of KICC.
Yes.
And they said, after having deliberations in there, all of us, we have all agreed on how we are going to select a running mate.
Yes.
We shall form a 7-member panel to select a running mate. Kalonzo was there nodding
He even forwarded the name of one who would be on the panel.
on the panel. Kitui Senator Kiyo Wambua. Then he met the lawyers and legal advisors like you. Is that what happened? And you told him no. Because, I mean, why would he be standing there nodding and then the next thing is we are complaining about the selection of running mate?
I think, Eric, I'll repeat myself and say that was a political decision and it was properly advised by the political advisors. Yes, not a legal decision. I think I answered that in the beginning. Because,
Actually,
yes.
you didn't. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There was a very decent attempt at answering the question, but you lawyered up on us because there is no way you're going to make political decisions and ignore the legal advice that would actually be the very, very foundation on which you are making that decision. Because at the end of the day, all these political maneuvers and all these political things that we see, why is it that when things go awry, people end up in court? Because the legal position is always fundamental. So, either you gave the advice and you were ignored, or you figured this is politics. Let's play a long-term game here.
Yeah.
What options do we have? We know the treachery that we find in this particular terrain, and we know the things that happen. People say agree and then they change. So, in the event that this happens,
They'll come back to us.
We'll have the law on our side.
Now, that probably is the sort of advice that the lawyers would give the politicians. Say, guys, you guys tend to be in a bit of a hurry doing things. Just hold. Think. What if? Because the what if is something that many politicians don't seem to think of very much, but the lawyers would. Am I getting you right, sir?
No, you are not. And I think, so as to make myself clear,
Yes.
you know,
One more time.
the process, Mr. Munga and Eric and Indu, of choosing a running mate. Actually, a running mate is nominated by the candidate. If it's a governor, running deputy governor, the governor candidate nominates. Now, in this case, the candidate for Azimio One Kenya is Raila Amolo Odinga. It is him to nominate a running mate. The process of nominating a running mate is not a legal process. The only part where it becomes legal is the qualifications. And if the law says the qualifications of a deputy president must be the same as those of a president. Yeah. So the process of getting, so long as this president is qualified, and we all know all these people who apply to be running mates were all qualified to become president, the process was political.
Okay.
And the decision arrived at KCC was a political decision because remember, Mr. Munga, after as Kalonzo joined Azimio La Umoja One Kenya, there were some members of Azimio who were not happy about that. And they formed their own caucus and they called themselves Mwanzo Mpya. There's a name they gave themselves, because the idea which was given at KCC was that there will be 3 main principles to Azimio. So these people were dissenting and they now formed a caucus. Now,
this is Kina Alfred Mutua
Yes.
and the governor of Kilifi and the
yes,
others.
the others, yes.
Who wanted to be the fourth leg.
The fourth leg, exactly, yeah. So, and now so as to manage them and also take care of their issues, their interest. Now, a meeting was convened. And actually, that's why you hear some people saying some amendments were inserted to the agreement. Yeah. So now this idea of selecting a running mate by that selection panel was to enable all the parties, because there are so many parties, more than 26. So it is for all the parties to feel that like that they have a say in the management of the coalition. And that's why even in the formation of that selection panel, all the parties were involved in forming that panel. Yes. So that process of and whatever they agreed that somebody must, because initially, remember, they said somebody must go for the interview. That's what they said initially.
Yep.
Yeah. Then later, the chairperson, Dr. Noah Wekesa, said you don't have to go for the interview. Initially, it was for someone to apply, but later they said the party
Parties
can
will nominate.
and just forward the papers. But if somebody wants to go,
Directly.
they can go. Yeah. So there was no duty upon any candidate for that position to go for an interview. So it was, if you feel like you want to go there, maybe chat with somebody and catch up with the team, you are allowed. Yeah. So I think that entire process was political. Yeah. It was not legal, but I agree with you that every political step, of course, has to be guided by the legal direction. Because if something happens, then you have to retreat.
Your fallback position.
Exactly.
Council, all those processes
Yes.
at some point must and will always have consequences.
That is true.
And when they have consequences, that's when you come in.
Yes.
Because if among themselves they cannot resolve the issue,
Yes.
what do they then do? They come to you and people with your training and understanding.
Yes.
That is why I was making the statement I was making.
Yes.
And it would be foolhardy, I think, for any process to take place, move in the direction that we saw Wiper moving without. Yes, the politicians may have their say, but the serious input. Remember, the Wiper leader himself is senior counsel.
Yep.
The issue that revolves around the legal understanding of these issues, in my mind, is at the center stage. It's not the afterthought that council is trying to convince us it is.
It was there. It was there from the very beginning.
Yes.
I disagree with you, because if you are not chosen as a running mate, will you have any legal remedy? So it's not legal at all, because after they failed to choose him, you can't go to court and say they should have chosen me. So we could not have a legal remedy in mind.
Your place came in where just a few days after that we saw then there was a legal move to go to court and remove Wiper from this whole Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition party. That is when now you would have stepped in. And did you then?
But I've asked you, have you seen any case filed by Wiper?
Please, did you hear what I said?
Yes, I heard
said
you.
The next day there was they said they were going to make that move. Were you involved in that? Because I'm assuming that there was a thought process behind now this next announcement. It was an announcement. It was made public. It was not behind the Wiper curtain.
Or are we saying this announcement falls into the category of what you've been saying? It was a political announcement
But in
made by lawyers.
in Wiper,
About going to court.
in Wiper, there are so many leaders who have the right and freedom of expression. And if I wake up today and say something, it doesn't mean that is the party position. So I think we are talking about Wiper as a party.
So let me ask you.
Yes.
You're not advisor to the Wiper party. You're advisor to Kalonzo Musyoka, the party leader.
Okay.
On that Sunday night, after Kinadan Maanzo have gone out and said, you know what, tomorrow morning we are going to court, what did you tell Kalonzo?
Eric, Dan Manzo is my senior, and I respect him a lot, even Mutola Jr. And I told you earlier that going to court was an option. So you can explore all the options available to you. One of them being going to court. So maybe the media misunderstood them, I don't know, but they were just saying one of the options available to Wiper as a party.
What was your advice?
Yes.
What was your advice to Kalonzo with regards to this particular move?
Of which move?
Of going to court.
And I'm repeating again, Eric, and I think I'm trying to be very clear.
I want to hear what Kevin told Kalonzo.
There was no move of going to court.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, because what was the reason of going to court?
In the declaration on Sunday night that tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock we will be going to the High Court to then initiate the removal of the Wiper Party from this coalition agreement. It was said, plain as day, well in this case night, but it was said. The question is, having heard this, or did you not hear this?
I heard.
Okay. Having heard this, we didn't say that papers were lodged. We didn't say that anybody trotted off to the High Court. We're saying that it was said. So the assumption is that there was a thought process before this proclamation.
Yes.
Now, when you heard this, did you speak to the party leader? That's just the question.
Oh, yes. Yes. And we said
now,
that.
what we're asking is,
Yes.
did you advise him in any one way? Did you say ignore this completely? Let them do whatever they're doing at party level. You just stay now. What did you say as the legal advisor to
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka?
I said that there is no need of going to court. Because what remedy are we seeking? If it is him running for presidency, he can run. Nothing will stop him from running for presidency. So there was no need of going to court.
So you told him tomorrow morning, let's go on with our game plan.
Yes.
Go to SKM Center, make
Yes.
your announcement
Yes,
public.
Yes. And Eric, you saw the registered political parties writing to the IBC, advising the IBC not to clear or even receive the running mate name of Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. What did IBC do? IBC responded and said, we are guided by Article 137 of the Constitution and Section 23 of the Elections Act,
What do they say?
which gives the qualifications of a president. There are only 4 qualifications. 1, a citizen by birth. 2, not a public officer. 3, no allegiance to any other state. Yeah. 4, qualified to run as an MP. There's nowhere which says in the disqualification that if you are a member of a coalition party, you can't run for presidency. There's nothing which says that. And IBC responded appropriately. Because, the registered political parties and the IBC, both of them are independent from each other. The registered political party is directed and led by provisions of the Political Parties Act. The IBC follows the directions of the Elections Act, but all of them must follow the provisions of the Constitution. And there is nowhere in the Constitution, Eric, where there could be any reason of limiting political rights of any Kenyan. Article 38 of the Constitution. There must be reasonable restrictions. So if I wake up today and join a coalition, because some of these coalitions are being formed, there could be provisions which you are not agreeable to, but for political reasons you participate. But the Constitution is very supreme to all these other statutes. So you can't limit the political rights of a person. And also Article 36, Eric, and that's why we told Honorable Kalonzo that there's no need of doing all these legal battles of living, because you have freedom of association. You can be a member of this coalition. You could be having 3 clubs where you are a member. Yeah. So freedom of association, you can be even in politics. You can be a member of this coalition. You can be a member of this other coalition, unless the coalition agreement of that particular coalition tells you can't be a member of more than 2 coalitions. You can.
Okay.
I like your reasoning.
Let's take a break, City. It's 23 minutes to 10. We want to take a look at the traffic, the weather, and hear the business news. Our guest this morning is Kevin Katisya. Kevin is an advocate, and he is Kalonzo Musyoka's legal advisor. We are talking about Kalonzo's game plan for the August 9th polls. What is it that he's being told by his various advisors, political advisors, legal advisors? Does he have other economic advisors, ground advisors? A man must have very many advisors. What is he hearing?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Our guest is Kalonzo Musyoka's legal advisor, advocate Kevin Katisya. He's with us in the studio. What is Kalonzo's game plan for the August 9th polls? You sit in that think tank that advises Kalonzo on various things. One of them being, so you bring in your legal understanding, right?
Yes.
He's a senior counsel. There are other lawyers who are also in this think tank. I'd assume the deputy party chairman, Mutula Kalonzo Jr. is there. Dan Manzo, the MP, is there, has been working with Kalonzo for a number of years, plus others. And then there are those who bring in the politics and they understand the politics and nuance, and the others who understand communication. Senator Enoch Wambua is a journalist. He understands communication. He understands the ground. He's a senator dealing with the ground. So all of you give Kalonzo the advice. So we've seen Kalonzo's move. He's seeking to be on the presidential ballot as candidate and as running mate. We have seen other Wiper leaders who also claim to be his advisors coming together and saying, in fact, we are advising Kalonzo to come back to Azimio. There are too many advisors for Kalonzo. Don't you get that sense?
Are there really ever too many advisors? President Yoweri Museveni has, I think, 140.
8.
Thank you very much.
See, those are too many.
No,
Are they not?
At what point are they too many? I'm sure. So long as they serve the purpose, or there is a purpose for which you have chosen them, it can't be too many.
It's like saying an entire village is your advisors.
But they actually are. If you look at our political system, and especially this little interesting aspect of public participation,
Yes.
they are.
There's a reason why
Yes.
there are courtiers in the king's court, all right?
Yes,
And there
yes.
are various categories. Not every subject of the king's is an advisor to the king.
That is absolutely true, and that is why even courts have court jesters. It doesn't mean that their role is insignificant. Everyone has their role. Everyone has a role. Whether they play the role is a different matter. I said I liked your thinking, and it's for this reason.
Thank you.
You articulate the points you want to make very clearly. Now, I want you to help me understand this. If Senior Counsel Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka had been appointed, selected, nominated as the running mate, would we be having this discussion?
The answer is no. Yes.
We'll be having a different discussion.
Yes.
Or
Not
maybe
the
at
discussion
all.
of him being on the ballot, but a discussion of something else.
Yes.
Oh, something else would have come up even thereafter.
course.
Oh my goodness. Something else would have been the issue if he was chosen as the running mate. Is that what we're saying?
Many cards up the sleeve, my friend. This,
That's something else into. Doesn't have to come.
It doesn't
from
have to be.
him.
It could come from some of the other
somebody-
people that we are seeing
exactly.
these other issues coming
Yes.
from as well.
Yes, yes.
So
yes,
that
yes.
could lend credence to this, what Eric is saying, that there's so many people that want to stir the honeypot, you know, or stir the hornet's nest, regardless of what the issue is. And you have to look at the optics of it, because then it seems as though there's a lot of indecision here, or that there's somebody who's not satisfied along the way, and then it casts negative light on the principle.
But Ndu,
Sir?
there's a view you've heard me express very many times on this show. And that is when politicians make noise, please don't get carried away with it. What are they
It's
doing?
negotiation.
That's my view. Because some things can happen, and in your mind, they defy logic. Yes, they defy the logic you have. If you are to speak to them, it will make perfect sense. Which leads me to, yes, please go ahead.
So, Kelvin,
Yes.
so had he been selected as the running mate, there, at least this particular conversation that is being had now would not be, this thing that we are all caught in the throes of would not be. But what you're saying is that there's likelihood that there could be something else from the surrounding quarters. Why?
Because there's Munga said this is politics, and people politic every day, every minute, every second. And I agree with Munga when he says that when you are a leader, everybody who is eligible, whom you are leading, is your advisor. But I agree with Eric as well when he says the categories are different, because even according to our Constitution, Article 1, sovereignty belongs to the people. Even the president, every Kenyan is an advisor to the president. But of course, the categories differ.
Sure.
So
But then,
yes,
what does that say then for this individual? Because we can't also run away from the fact that the things that the people around you are saying or doing must shed light on you, whether you're negotiating or not. Must shed some kind of light on you. That the people who are out there speaking on your behalf, whether you sent them or not, the people who are out there speaking on behalf of the party, whomever it is, has it cast something on you. So I'm interested to know then how then he would continue to operate, knowing that these are the different things that are being cast then about his image.
and that's why Ndu, to answer you, that's why he is the leader. And as a leader, at the end of the day, even after receiving 1 million advices, you make your decision.
But what's the decision?
One decision. You make one decision as a leader.
the decision,
Yes.
Ndu, is he's on the ballot.
Okay.
See, he has already come out and said. Anything else that you hear other people saying, that is not Kalonzo speaking. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Kevin?
Yes.
When
because-
Kalonzo speaks, that is when Kalonzo speaks.
Okay, so
Yes.
all right.
So
When others speak,
yes.
it is not necessarily Kalonzo speaking.
They are speaking on behalf of Kalonzo,
No.
but when Kalonzo speaks, then you know Kalonzo has spoken.
They are speaking their ideas or their opinions, not on behalf. Because by the end of the day, it is the leader to speak and to state his decisions. The others can give you ideas, but that does not mean that is exactly what he will speak.
Do you advise him as well that sometimes his decisions and reversing those decisions or going back on his decisions has an impact on him and his image?
That is true. That is true. And
For
remember,
example, at one moment he says, I can never support Raila. Then the next thing he says, you know what, I mean, in this country, we must live together. I'm supporting Raila. The next thing he says, I am not going for an interview. Then he says, I will go and meet these people. It was not an interview. I am subjecting myself to this.
But
And then the next thing, I am vying for president, I feel bit.
Yeah, but Eric, does it not show that this is someone who, in the light of new facts, is always open to changing his mind?
Which is a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. These hard and fast positions that people sometimes have don't necessarily help.
So he's not a hardliner.
No, he's a hardliner. You see, the ability to change sometimes is actually much harder. It's far more difficult to have that flexibility of mind than to just be rigid in a simpler position with your stomach ache. You're just sitting there. But somebody who is able to talk and say, okay, fine, it's what I said, but given where we are now, fine, I will take this path. It is harder, much harder than simply staying in one position and holding it firm, irrespective. It's raining, so what? I'm still here. Okay, the sun is shining. I've heard. I'm still here. So,
I said I am not moving.
did you not hear me say? Okay, the only movement I'm going to make is I'm going to stop standing. I'll sit down, but my position is still the same.
So this exposes a different character of Kalonzo's.
I think you must look at the positivity of it.
Well, you must try to get something out of it, shan't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
because one of the things that has been the hallmark of the politics in this country is the ability for people to sit down and talk. Now, the reason why progress is made is because when people talk, people move from the positions they were in. Now, the understanding we talk of that is arrived at is because people have moved from the position they started off with and they're now in a new position. So now when someone demonstrates this on the national arena, I don't understand why people want to look at it as negative when it is clear that he's doing something that most people have difficulties doing.
and I think the best description to that character is being selfless and being somebody who listens to his people. Because if you're a leader and you don't listen to your people, what does that mean? And now, picking from what you said about, at one point he said he will not support Raila, he gave the reason. Yeah, they agreed, and he even showed the agreement to the media. They agreed that whether Raila wins or loses, he will support him. Yeah, he gave that reason. But you see, in politics, people like reading what they want. They want to construe whatever they want to get from a particular statement. So I think, and I agree with Mr. Munga on the fact that as a leader, you must listen to the people. You must be selfless. What is good for the country? You know, you can have this position, and realize if I continue standing here, as you have said, maybe you'll lose energy and fall down, so you choose to sit down.
But the same place.
But same place. Yeah. So you must be able to also look at the interest of your people, not just your interest. Yeah. Look at, even if it was a selfish person, the position is being offered, for example, he can easily took it. But look at selfish people, the likes of Kitui Governor Gilo, who said, I want that position. What she wants is the position. But this is a person who is thinking above the position. Which position has this man not occupied?
The presidency.
Yes, but what about these other positions? Because for the presidency, he told Raila, I'll sacrifice. And he used the word Rosafi, the clean heart. That's a selfless person. Yeah. But these other positions, you can't give him any other position apart from the presidency. So He's not there to push his own selfish interest. He is selfless. And the idea of, and you mentioned it a little bit, the issue, the narrative people are trying to drive that he is indecisive, all these narratives. No, in politics, when somebody wants to finish you, they will brand you with all sorts of names. And remember when Honorable Kalonzo was launching his running mate, he said that, there are very few selfless leaders in this country. And if you look at the top class politicians, tell me which other politicians have been able to sacrifice like him. Tell me which other politician. He is selfless. Yeah, he looks at the interest of the people and say, if I make this decision, apart from myself, what is the impact of this on my people? Yeah, remember, he's a national leader, countrywide, even international.
Are you saying, Kevin?
Yes.
Is the leakage that you're giving us here that deal of just giving him the chief minister position did not have anything else in terms of development and benefits and positions in government for the greater people of Ukambani?
That's not what I'm saying, Eric. All I'm saying is that if I tell you, Eric, today, I'll give you maybe a car, for example. So that maybe you sacrifice your friends, you betray them, and you accept the car. That will be for your own selfish interest.
Yes.
But think of your friends. If I take this bribe and the consequences on my friends, what it means is that.
So what was the detrimental position of
when
him? If he had accepted chief minister, how would he have sold out his people?
What is there for his people? Wiper has a large following all over the country. And it is very clear and known to every Kenyan that in politics it is interest. What is there for my followers, for example?
What did he want?
No, not what he wanted, but what was there.
Okay, what did his people want?
No, of course, everybody wants a share of the cake.
And
the national cake.
particular
And
share
how much
you're
was he
saying,
promised?
I can't answer that question,
because
Eric.
you see, the thing is,
Yes.
this share that we're speaking of,
Yes.
it appears to have been inadequate. Chief Minister wasn't going to cut it. It
Yes.
was either deputy president or nothing. Is that what we're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
And remember, some of these meetings, they are high level. Some of us don't have the privilege of knowing what is being discussed. Remember, it is the meeting between the president, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and Musyoka Musyoka. And it doesn't mean they tell us everything. They participate in high level meetings. So whatever they discuss is
When he comes and tells you, I still didn't get what I wanted, you believe
Yes.
he didn't get what he wanted.
Yes.
And when you advise, you don't look at this position that we are speaking of, do a little arithmetic about it and say, the benefit that we thought we would derive from the deputy president's position, we may still derive from this.
For chief minister.
Yes,
Remember, some of us are-
we wanted a four-legged goat. It's three-legged, but it's still a goat.
Still a goat.
Yes.
We'll take it.
I think we are assuming that we advise on everything. Some of us are just on the legal part of it.
Okay.
So
You like
the next time
running
you
back into that,
you
Kevin.
sit down with a political advisor here or a politician, they can answer you all those questions. But I can see where you're coming from.
Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Eric.
You have a good weekend.
Thank
When
you.
Mheshimiwa Kalonzo comes back to the country, say hello to him. Tell him
I
we'd
will.
like him on the hot seat.
Thank you. I
Some
will
of,
tell you.
like you've said,
Yes,
some of these questions are best answered by the man himself.
that is very true.
We'd like him to come and answer these questions.
That
himself.
message will be delivered.
Please advise him accordingly.
Thank you, Eric, Indu, and Munga for having me today. And have a good day as well.